Hey there, it's Kate back here, and today is Wednesday, and today we're continuing in the series uh, of unlocking secrets and identifying triggers to break this loop of repetitive behaviors that are unwanted, quite frankly. I am like just like you. I have had to change things in my life, and I have had to sometimes identify a behavior that really isn't serving me anymore. And it may be something that I call a belief system, something that you have learned as a child, or you have just adapted during the pandemic, which we all picked up some bad behaviors then. But something that you have decided that you don't want anymore. And the first thing to identifying those things is being aware of knowing and being aware that this problem is actually there and happening. And it becomes a problem when we're walking in a behavior that really isn't serving us and isn't reflecting our best self to anybody. And I believe that it's an ongoing process, whether you're a Christian, a believer of any faith. We should be walking always into a version of ourself that keeps getting better. In other words, we're dropping some of the things we say that are offensive, we're changing behaviors, and we're walking towards a better place of joy, peace, light, and a reflection of who we carry on the inside, which of course is truth and spirit that we carry on the inside. So, the very first thing that you need to do when you're trying to identify triggers to get you unstuck is the first thing is being aware. And to be aware, you have to have some form of self reflection going on. So you've got to be engaged in self reflection and self awareness. And, a lot of people, I actually say, especially for if you are journaling a weight release journey, in other words, if you found one of your habits that you want to get rid of is eating the wrong foods or eating unhealthy foods, maybe over drinking, having one too many glasses of wine that you go, I really shouldn't have had that last glass of wine. Behaviors that like that, I suggest you journal. Now, I'm going to be the first one bet, hey. I'm a writer. I like to write about things. I'm not a good journaler. I have tried and tried. I am not a good journaler. But when I am really identifying or become self-aware of habits like maybe I've been snacking on those chips at the back of the pantry too often, that's when I do mark down in a journal and I keep track of when those habits are coming to bite me. In other words, to sabotage me, to trip me up. So writing things down, journaling can actually reveal patterns and behaviors and connections between those things, between your triggers and your behaviors. Tracking your behavior is another good thing, and that is another journalized thing. And you may be journaling for a short period of time. I did a journal, lots of journaling just recently when I did morning pages, and although I never kept them up to the extent that they required, I still do reflect in the mornings on what is going on in my mind. What am I doing today? So tracking your behavior from yesterday at the end of the day, or like the end of the day, tracking your behavior today, can help you in the morning when you go, okay, I noticed I had these behaviors yesterday I did not want. So behavioral tracking, keeping a record of when these repetitive behaviors occur, noting the time, the day, location, maybe there's people present, specific locations or situations that precede this trigger, this behavior you don't want. And over time, you will notice certain patterns emerge. Getting a professional assessment as well is really not a bad idea. Sometimes, if you are really overindulging in one way or another of something that you either eat or drink, it may be good to seek professional help. And that could be in the form of a counselor, it could be a therapist, it could be a life coach. It could be something that you need to go and see about, that you're noticing that this is happening so repetitively that you want to seek a professional to find out why. They can provide valuable insights and guidance for you. So never shy away from the fact that going to a trained person is a good thing. Environmental analysis. So evaluate your environment for potential triggers. Are you working in a place perhaps that triggers you? Is there donuts always around? Does everybody go for a drinky poo at 5 o'clock or at lunchtime, and you're trying to stop that behavior? Identify these things and make yourself aware that maybe this environment needs to change for you. Maybe you need to step out and do something different at these particular times. So look for the sensory stimuli as well, like loud noises or bright lights or clutter or stresses that may contribute to your behavior. I know for me, I notice that, about 5:30 in the afternoon, it's my afternoon slump, if you like. That's when I go, I just want to wind down. I don't want to think about anything. This could be the point where maybe I'm a bit hungry and I'm so tired, or I don't feel like, or my brain is telling me, you're too tired to cook dinner. Just eat those chips in the back of the pantry. This is where identify those places and those times and those stresses that become a ritual or a pattern of behavior. Emotional awareness is also really, really important. Pay attention to your emotional state and the changes in your mood. Repetitive behaviors often serve as a way to cope with or manage emotions. And identifying your emotions associated with these behaviors can point to the triggers. Do you know, when I was a very young mum, I noticed that I started having a behavior that I learned from my own mother. And it wasn't a very good pattern of behavior. Did it relieve stress? Well, I thought it would. If I threw something at the wall, would it relieve my stress? All it did was leave a big hole in the wall or a dent in the wall, and then I had to go and patch it and repair it and paint it. It didn't really make me feel good. Maybe it did at the time that I threw something, but there are alternatives to throwing things at the wall. There are lots of things like punch a pillow, if you need that solid impact, punch a pillow. There are lots of things that you can do instead of doing a repetitive behavior that is not acceptable. Social interactions. Consider how your social interactions may trigger repetitive behaviors. I talked about that just a minute ago. Maybe you're at work and everybody goes for 5 o'clock happy hour, or they have drinky poos at lunchtime, or they tend to go to restaurants that don't have healthy eating, or there's donuts always around in the snack room or the break room. Consider these social interactions and remove yourself from them, or at least be aware that there may be triggers associated that can lead to actions that you don't want. Observing these dynamics can actually help you identify triggers. We also have thought patterns And that is examining your thought patterns. And those intrusive thoughts or those obsessive thinking or irrational fears sometimes can be underlying triggers for repetitive behaviors, especially in cases of OCD. I always call that CDO. I'm not OCD at all. Maybe I'm CDO. But the bottom line is we can actually set up a cycle of behaviors that looks like it's compulsive when it's just a habit. It has become an unwanted habit and we have got stuck in it. Significant life events too can actually trigger some of the unwanted behaviors that you want. So, and understanding how these events can relate to your behavior is really essential. So, get feedback from other people, friends, family members, caregivers who observe your behavior or may notice when you're triggered into something. Your spouse may be a very good place to look here. They may notice patterns that you have that you might in particular overlook. And the last thing I want to mention today is experimentation. Sometimes intentionally avoiding or modifying situations that are suspected triggers can help confirm their role. If the behavior diminishes or stops in response to you changing your environment or routine, that can provide you valuable information. So remember that identifying triggers is a gradual and ongoing process. It isn't an overnight thing. It's something that requires work. You will slip back. You will have the occasional setback. It doesn't matter. You just pick up and go back on your merry path. It may require you to be very patient with yourself and have self-compassion, and collaboration with professionals and loved ones is necessary. Once the triggers are identified, you can work on developing healthier coping strategies and interventions to manage or reduce these repetitive behaviors. Tomorrow, I'm actually going to give you some actual things that you can do here to help you get unstuck and get rid of the triggers and get rid of the unwanted habit or behavior. So that's it for today, and I shall see you tomorrow. So you have a great rest of the day. Bye for now.